Just a little reminder, inshallah, about the cell phones. Please make sure before the salah that the cell phone is off, because this is so important, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. حديثنا الليلة إن شاء الله عن عدي بن حاتم الطائي. Tonight we are talking about Adey ibn Hatim At-Taa'ie. The son of Hatim At-Taa'ie was so known before Islam to be one of the most generous people amongst all the Arab tribes. He was from Taa'ie, this tribe of Taa'ie, and everybody who passes by him, it was like people taking great pride at this time of hosting others, being generous to them, those who are passing by, or travelers and so on. So that was his father. And his father was like the king, or not like the king, the leader of his tribe. And after him, he was the leader of his tribe, and he was a Christian, unlike most of the Arabs. He was a Christian, and we said after his father, he became the leader of his tribe and so on. When he heard of the Prophet ﷺ coming, he thought he is like a king, because it was a conflict of, this time it was a conflict of domination. Who will dominate? The bigger tribe will dominate the little tribe and so on. That was the most fights back then. So he thought he is a king, or he is one of those people who are fighting for dominance and so on. So he decided to take him as an enemy. And for the next 20 years, after the Prophet ﷺ became a prophet, Adey ibn Hatim, he took the Prophet as a clear enemy for him, even though without meeting him even once. He knew that Islam is gaining power and Muslim is getting stronger, and that they will soon sweep him or something. So he was ready for this moment. And when he got to know that Muslim army is approaching his place and so on, he took everything he got and he left. But as he was leaving, he took most of his family members, but he left some behind him, and those who did not want to leave with him, and they stood at their place. Amongst those who he left behind was his sister. He said, I will join the people of my religion, which was mainly in Syria, Sham, Christian. It was a predominantly Christian people, so he joined them. His sister was taken as a captive and brought to Medina to the Prophet ﷺ. And for a couple of days she was asking him every time he was passing by, I'm from a noble family, and she was asking to be free, basically. So the Prophet ﷺ freed her, especially when he knew that her father was Adey ibn Hatim, and he was so good, even though he died before Islam, he was not a Muslim or anything, but he honored that, and he freed her. She got all the way to Sham, to Adey, and she said, you left us alone and you just escaped by yourself, and she was so mad at him. But he kept, talking to her until she calmed down, and she told him about the entire story, that he was not like as we used to think of him. He was somebody that's loved by everybody around him. He's not a king who is not somebody like searching for dominance or dominating others. That's completely different. I'm just an example. This is his sister talking to him. I'm an example. He just let me go for nothing. He decided right away to, especially when she was there, she told the Prophet that this is my father and this is my brother. He kind of said, I hope that Adey will come and we will be hand in hand, he will accept and follow this religion. So he showed some kind of, the Prophet some kind of, like he wants Adey to come and be Muslim and so on. So when she went all the way to him and told him about the generosity of the Prophet, and how he is completely different from anybody else, and how he even talked positively about him, he decided to go and join the Prophet ﷺ without any condition, without even sending somebody first to ask permission. He came all the way to him, and he presented himself, and the Prophet ﷺ welcomed him so much, and he said, I know that you will come because I know you are an intelligent, smart person. And he invited him to his house. He took him to his house, and Nabi ﷺ, it was so humble, so simple house. He got only one cushion. This one cushion, Hashwa, Adam, Walif, وكذا. It was like very humble thing that this is the only thing he got. He offered it to him. He said, you sit on this. He said, no, oh Prophet of Allah, you take it. For 2 or 3 times, he refused, but he took it at the end. And the Nabi sallallahu sat on the floor, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was talking to him. As they were coming, I forgot this, as he was coming with the Prophet from the masjid to his house, he said, there was a little, humble old lady, weak old lady with her child. She stopped him on the way, and she took him she wanted to talk to him privately, and she was talking to him for something, and it took him some time until he fixed what she was asking for. So he said to himself, I knew this is not a king. Usually kings would not have time to stop by to talk to weak people like this and spend really good time with them. So he said that was the first time I knew he's different. He's not a king. He's not somebody who's seeking dominance. When he got with him home, and the Prophet ﷺ welcomed him, even though the house it's very humble. It doesn't look like a palace or a house of king and so on. He said, well, and the Nabi ﷺ started talking to him. He almost told him about everything about him. Everything about him. He said, this is how you used to deal with your people, right? Yes, this is how you used to believe. This is what you are thinking about us right now. You're thinking of Muslims being very weak and very poor and little in number. And here what I'm telling you. Soon, you will see that Muslims will dominate everybody. They will be so big in number, they will get all the way to where Kisra or Hormuz, like the kings of that time, kings of superpowers, they will get all the way there and they will dominate and take their places. He said, all the way? And he said, you see us not very strong as far as, and I'm telling you, the time will come that they will see a lady will travel all the way from Al-Qadisiyah, somewhere in Iraq, to Al-Kaaba in Mecca, the house of Allah, fearing none but Allah. It will be so safe. All of this area will belong to Muslims, those little group that you think very poor of them or very low of them. And the third one, he said, and you think they are poor because he used to be a king, and usually those for him are very humble, simple, poor people. He said, I'm telling you, the money, yafidul mal, the money will be so much with Muslims that they will give it, they will ask who wants to take money. And subhanAllah, Adey ibn Hatim, amongst other things that happened, that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam talked to him about, like when he heard the ayah from him, Quran came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, talking about Christians, and he said they worship their rabbis, and Christians and Jews, they worship their rabbis and their priests besides Allah. He said, Ya Rasulullah, we didn't worship them. He said, didn't they make the halal, the legal, illegal for you, and the illegal, legal for you, and you followed them? He said, yes. He said, فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَتُكُمْ إِيَّهُمْ. This is worship. This is worship. When somebody show you the way and you follow, behave like God and you follow Him, that's worship. Then Adey is still talking, it's a long hadith, he is talking, and he said, and by Allah, I lived long after the Prophet, and everything, I saw 2 things he mentioned 3 things to happen in the future. I saw 2 things. I saw, I was in the first army to go all the way to this big empire of Kisra, and I was amongst them, and we got it, I saw that. And the second one, I saw that it becomes so safe now because, for a woman to travel from Iraq all the way to Mecca safely, fearing nothing, because all of this area belongs to Islam. And Islam, when it dominates, peace is there. Peace is there. But when it's really unlike what's rampant around. And he said, I did not see the third one yet, which is about the money, becoming very abundant, that the rich will ask who will take the money. But this actually happened after his death, at the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, which is around 70, 80 years after the death of the Prophet, that the Muslim nation started growing and growing, and there was so much money in Baytul Mal, in the treasury of Muslims, that rich people would go out in the streets, and ask who will take the money. Umar used to send some people. Anybody want to get married, we help him, we support him, to give him all the money. Anybody is in need for anything, we have enough, we have surplus in here. And that also happen as the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, predicted it or told him about it, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him about that, even though the time he told him about that was, somebody who was having one cushion and very humble house, and Muslims were so few in number. That happens. It's mainly because of faith. How strong the faith was in their heart. Story of Adey ibn Hatim teaches us a lot of lessons. Amongst what it teaches is you need to change towards the truth, whatever this change could be. You see him amongst all other companions, where they come from and where did they go to. He come from being a king and so on to be a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be somebody who followed and adopted the truth. Let's inshallah ta'ala stick to the truth wherever it is, regardless of any of the other things that people usually take to measure things in life. نسأل الله جل أن يهدينا وأن يحيينا على خطى الصالحين اللهم آمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه.